Imagine this. For hundreds of thousands of years, a completely different kind of human ruled the frozen world of Ice Age Europe. They were smart, they were unbelievably tough, and they were incredibly successful. And then, poof, they were gone. Today, we're opening up the ultimate cold case file on our closest extinct relatives to solve the mystery of the Neanderthals. Let's get into it.
And this is really the heart of it, isn't it? For 250,000 years, our story and their story ran side by side. We literally shared a planet. And then, in what is just a blink of an eye in evolutionary time, there was only one of us left. So what really happened? Were they wiped out? Was it a war? Or was it something else entirely?
To even begin to answer that, we've got to meet them first. So let's get to know Europe's other humanity, the Neanderthals. And it's super important to remember, these guys weren't just some stepping stone on the way to us. They were a unique, successful, and fascinating branch of the human family tree all on their own. Okay, first things first, let's get one thing straight. You know that classic image of the brutish, hunched-over, club-dragging caveman? Yeah, throw that right out the window. The science today paints a completely different picture. The reality is Neanderthals were incredibly strong, sure, but they were also intelligent and highly specialized, a species that was a true masterpiece of adaptation. And just think about the scale of their success. 250,000 years. That is more than twice as long as we, Homo sapiens, have even existed. For 250,000 years, they dominated a continent, locked in ice ages, a world of mammoths and cave lions. They weren't some failed experiment, they were the undisputed kings of this frozen planet.
So what was it actually like to be a Neanderthal? What kind of world did they have to master to survive? Let's take a step back in time, into their life during the Ice Age.
Honestly, their bodies were an evolutionary work of art. They had this short, stocky build which was perfect for holding on to heat when temperatures would just plummet. Their noses were large and wide, basically acting like a built-in radiator, warming up that frigid, dry air before it hit their sensitive lungs. And their bones? Thicker and way stronger than ours, built to support the kind of powerful muscles you need for a brutal physical life. They were, quite literally, built for the cold. They lived in these small, tight-knit family groups. And to fuel those powerhouse bodies, an adult Neanderthal needed thousands and thousands of calories every single day, mostly from meat. They were hunting huge animals like mammoths and bison with these heavy-duty spears, which meant they had to get dangerously close to their prey. Life was tough, no doubt. The fossils tell us that 4 out of every 5 Neanderthals didn't even live to see their 40th birthday. But the bones also tell another story, a much more profound one. There's a famous skeleton from a cave in Iraq known as Shanidar I. This guy had suffered a massive blow to his head that probably blinded him in one eye. His right arm was completely withered and useless, and he had terrible arthritis. By all accounts, he should have died quickly, but he didn't. He lived for another 15 or 20 years. That's just undeniable proof of compassion. His clan cared for him. They fed him, they protected him. They weren't just surviving, they were a community. And these were not simple people. They were tech-savvy. Their signature toolkit, what we call the Musterian culture, was pretty advanced. They perfected this really complex method for making stone tools, the levallois technique, to create super sharp spear points and scrapers for hides. But it goes beyond just tools. They controlled fire, they buried their dead, and they used pigments like red ochre, all of which hints at this rich symbolic world that we're really only just beginning to grasp. For thousands and thousands of years, they were the only humans in Europe, the top of the food chain. But that was all about to change. The arrival of Homo sapiens? Well, that's the turning point in the Neanderthal story.
So around 45,000 years ago, a new group of humans starts trickling into Europe. And they were different. They were taller, leaner, built for warmer climates. They were our direct ancestors, Homo sapiens. And for the very first time, 2 distinct, intelligent human species were living on the very same continent.
You really have this incredible contrast. The Neanderthals were like the heavyweight sprinters, built for explosive power in the cold. Homo sapiens, on the other hand, we were the long-distance runners, built for endurance. And maybe most importantly, while Neanderthals lived in these small, pretty isolated family groups, our ancestors seemed to form bigger, more connected social networks. The stage was set for one of the most dramatic encounters in prehistory.
Which brings us right back to the central mystery. Now we're going to dig into the evidence and investigate what actually happened to them.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. These were the ultimate survivors, perfectly tuned to their environment. And yet,
within just a few thousand years of us showing up, they were gone. How does that happen? Why did one type of human make it while the other disappeared forever?
Okay, so the case files have a few leading suspects. Theory number one is direct competition. Maybe our ancestors, with a slight edge in tools or social organization, just out-hustled the Neanderthals for food and shelter. The second theory points the finger at climate change, saying that the environment shifted so fast it just pulled the rug out from under them. But then there's a third, really fascinating idea: assimilation. What if they weren't wiped out at all? What if they were just absorbed into the much bigger population of modern humans?
And this leads us to the final act, the big twist in the story. Because a revolutionary new tool, genetics, has completely changed our understanding of this ancient cold case. Let's look at the clues left behind in our own DNA.
You see, for decades, scientists argued back and forth. Were Neanderthals a totally separate species, biologically unable to have kids with us, or were they just a subspecies close enough that interbreeding was possible? The answer, it turns out, was locked away inside our very own cells. So it all comes down to this number, 1 to 4%. What does that mean? Well, after years of mind-blowingly difficult work, scientists finally sequenced the Neanderthal genome. And when they compared it to ours, they found something amazing. Every modern human whose ancestors came from outside of Africa carries between 1 and 4% Neanderthal DNA.
The genetic verdict is crystal clear. It's undeniable. Our ancestors met Neanderthals, and they had children together. So this wasn't just a simple case of one group replacing another. It was a merger. They weren't just wiped off the map. In a very real way, they were absorbed into our expanding family.
Which leaves us with this one last, incredible thought. If their genes are still here, living on inside billions of people today, affecting everything from our immune systems to our risk of allergies, can we really say they went extinct? Or does a small part of this other humanity, Europe's original people, actually survive to this day, deep inside of us?
History isn't dust, it's a journey through time. Here on History LM, we tell it simply and fast. If you love discovering the past in just a few minutes, hit like and follow History LM. Your next journey through time is waiting.